A new study is showing that climate change will actually hit the poor the hardest and increase the number of poor people. And the article that I read is in truthdig.com, but it cites numerous sources to this. Basically, U.S. researchers calculated the detailed cost of climate change in all of the 3,143 counties in the United States. And they said basically that U.S. poverty will grow as a result of this. They said that the counties in the South and Southern Midwest, already poor and hot, will lose the most. Rising temperatures will also have an impact on property crime, violent crime, agriculture, energy, coastal storms, and human mortality. Every 1 degree Celsius rise in average temperatures could lift death rates by 5.4 per 100,000 and could cost 1.2 of gross domestic product. Oh my God. According to a new study in the journal Science. Unmitigated climate change will be very expensive for huge regions of the United States, said Solomon Hizang, a professor of public policy at the UC Berkeley. If we continue on the current path, our analysis indicates may result in the largest transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich in the country's history. You mean more than what's already happened? That's already happening right now. What this study goes into, and I've done other videos on this, is what climate change, first of all, like climate change doesn't create hurricanes. It just makes them more severe. Hurricane Katrina, which was the worst one we've ever had, it had a disaster radius the size of Kansas. Everybody just talks about, oh, New Orleans was big in the news, but it was a disaster radius the size of Kansas. So it was unbelievable. I was a disaster volunteer for the American Red Cross during that time, and didn't get deployed because we deployed so many people to that whole part of America that they kept a bunch of us back here because it was also wildfire season in Southern California. And you saw when that happened. And then I've been living in Southern California for over 20 years, and we've had some years where we had really bleak wildfires. They got really out of control. I think 2003, 2002, 2003, somewhere in there, got really bad and out of control. And imagine if all of these things were to happen at once. What happens is the resources of federal and state and municipal governments, their response teams, all of that get highly taxed in terms of everybody is in use, and there's a lot of money that needs to be spent. And what this study also goes into is, as the sea levels are rising, people that are in hurricane regions, they're going to get even harder. They're saying that increasingly extreme heat will drive up violent crime, slow down workers, amp up air conditioning costs, and threaten people's lives. So they're already seeing, we've seen more floods. Here's a place to go figure this research out. Whenever I'm confronted with people like, oh, it's just the hippie, conservatives like love to say that this is just a cyclical weather pattern. And it's like, no, don't point them to the Sierra Club. Point them to the insurance industry. The insurance industry has seen an insane uptick in natural disaster payoff money. They have had to spend so much money on natural disasters. Show them that number. Show them how, look what happened. What if we have another Katrina? What if we have more floods, more drought? Look at how bad the drought was in California. We had 5 years of an awful drought. Now, this past winter, we had a lot of rain, which, oh, great. So now there's we're plenty of water, but there was also a lot of severe flooding. We're just seeing more severe weather. And who's going to get screwed over? The poor. That's, of course, who's going to get screwed over. Let me read you this. And they concluded that although some counties in the Pacific Northwest and New England might benefit, unless greenhouse gas emissions from fossil fuel are slowed, then the projected 3 to 5 degrees Celsius warming in the last 2 decades of this century could have costs comparable to the Great Recession of 2008, with the cruelest impact upon the poorest. Of course, little Trumpy pulled us out of the Paris Accord, idiot, which, you know, would limit greenhouse gas emissions from fossil fuels, and has separately dismissed global warming driven by human action as a hoax. Yeah, I've talked about this. It's obviously, he puts, you know, Rex Tillerson and a bunch of oil people. Every single person on his cabinet is a climate change denier. And this is what they don't understand, is that the severity of extreme weather, the areas that get rain, they're going to get more rain. There's going to be more flooding. The areas that tend to get drought, it's going to be even more severe drought. And we've got all of these global markets, the carbon bubble, the housing bubble, the pension bubble. I just did a video on that. The student loan bubble, the car loan bubble. What happens when all of these things pop and municipalities and cities don't have the money to pay their fire departments and their response vehicles and the people, all the money that costs to run all that? What do? So once again, if you're poor and expecting the government to come help you out, it's going to be severe. Which is why climate change is the most serious thing going on, and it needs to be addressed, and why we need real progressives, and why get mad at the Democratic Party for crushing progressives. That's what the corporate Democrats are doing. They keep doing it. They're going after Nina Turner now. If Tulsi Gabbard gets too high on the list, then boom. And Nina Turner, they go after her. And anywhere, then they'll swipe anyone. Bernie, if a new progressive starts rising to the top, they're going to go after them. But what we need is a real progressive, because the end of this century could be really ugly. It could be really ugly. I don't know if I'll be alive to see it, but it might slowly get worse and worse. That's why we need a Green New Deal. We need somebody to come in here and say, this is how we can fix this. We can put everyone to work, everybody gets a job, and we stop producing. There's also, so Volvo Car Company has just said by 2019, they're only going to make electric and hybrids. That's it. Because China has said, China has huge environmental problems. They're choking to death on smog. And the Chinese government said, we're going to change this. I did a story on how India is saying they're only going to sell electric cars by 2030. So this is the one thing that actually sort of gives me hope, because all of these corporate assholes, all they care about is money. And if 1.5 billion people in China and another billion people in India are only buying electric cars, or cars that don't produce greenhouse gases, whatever they're running on, hydrogen or whatever, that's going to drive the market, and the car companies are going to have to make cars because that's what people want. And these oil people, that's their last stand, because oil, $50 a barrel is that they can't have that. So they're trying to start wars and drive everything up and get oil back up to $80, $90, $100 a barrel. That's what they want. That's all they want. So pay attention to this and show these kind of statistics in these videos to people that, climate, it's cyclical. No, it's not. And this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen. It's possible to change it. It's possible to fix it. But you have to get behind progressives. And once again, I don't think it's a Democratic Party. We need a third party. We should just call it the American Progressive Party. And just stack it full of Nina and Tulsi and Bernie and anybody who's a real progressive. Put them in there and let's get to business. Let's get it done.